How can I find my purpose is the predominant term in today's day and age. That's the wrong question. What you should be asking is, how can I identify my purpose as well as accept it? Because they are two different things in and of itself. We'll explore it later down this video. As a reason of tonight's discourse, you understand fundamentally as well as viscerally why majority conform to all kinds of negative groups from LGBTQ to cult groups. It's not limited to a feeling of belonging, which is a good argument by the way, but there is more to it. Join me as we explore this line of thought. Absence of purpose. Absence of purpose is the chiefest sponsor to all negativity in the world. If you're taking notes, right? Absence of purpose is the chiefest sponsor to all negativity in today's world. Absence of purpose is a key sponsor to depression. Depression leads to suicide. When was the last time Elon had a suicidal thought? Never, because he's too busy. He's too purposeful to entertain that kind of thoughts. In fact, if he had leisure time or time to waste, he would spend it on a console, let alone think such heinous thoughts. Absence of purpose. We as humans are moral beings. By moral beings, we can distinguish good from evil, even without written laws. That's why this idea of if a man cheats on you, you should cheat him back didn't last very long because of this truth I just shared. Because one day you're going to get up, look at the man next to you and be like, I deserve more. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm a princess and I deserve to be treated like a princess. That's why that wrong ideology didn't last as long as it should. Because we as humans are moral beings. Another takeaway from that point is we were not built to function in confusion indefinitely. Take for instance, let's imagine this. You're in your office, busy, and you look out the window, there's this guy on a white t-shirt walking to and fro. You didn't notice him because of the magnitude of people taking the same action. But on a long enough time frame, after hours, you see this same guy walking to and fro. You decide to pause and observe. Here comes this guy again, walking to and fro from one end to the other. What do you label that kind of person? Mad or lost? And if you're kind enough, it's most likely you're going to go out, reach out, help this person. Where are you going to? Are you lost? That's if he looks approachable and if you have a kind heart. But the point I'm trying to highlight is we as humans are not built to entertain confusion in a long enough time frame. In fact, it's an uncommon sight to behold. It triggers something deep down. What sponsors confusion? Absence of purpose. When you lack purpose, it begins to string a lot of effects of which you think have individual solutions. For instance, the absence of purpose causes stagnation. Stagnation leads to depression. Depression, you have suicidal thoughts. So deep down, you're battling suicidal thoughts, you're battling depression. You have no idea that the consistent trend is lack of purpose. Lack of purpose can cause a lot of things in your life. But if this is the case, now we've explored the idea that lack of purpose is one of the chiefest sponsors to all kinds of crime. Why do you think terrorists exist? Is it just as a group to cause mayhem? I've been thinking about this. Why do people, full grown adults, apply to be a terrorist? Because they lack purpose. We as humans, again, are not built to operate in confusion indefinitely. On a long enough time frame, we are going to seek out purpose from a good outlet or a bad outlet. Irregardless, we have this insatiable need to wake up early in the morning and attack a cause. Terrorism or all these negative outlets like LGBTQ, gay, and all these heinous movements fuels that need of purpose, that need that you're part of something bigger, which is one of the opportunities you can exploit as a leader. And I see all the entrepreneurs smiling and nodding their head in affirmation because if you're a smart individual, from what I've said, you can easily identify an opportunity. So if every single person lacks purpose, one of the things you can do is to position yourself as that beacon of hope. Sell them your vision and they'll help you accomplish it. Now, this is not in a negative way because you've given them a good outlet to channel that endless fire and energy. This is something most entrepreneurs have zero idea of. I was speaking to a CEO of what would now be a very big company. He said, I don't know if people will have the time to do what I tell them to do. Because that was at the infancy of the career. It was paying next to nothing. Plus, there are people who had to work for shares, equity, all of that kind. People who had to work for credit, those kinds of agreement structure. So he didn't feel, because of his busy schedule, because of the way he lived his life, he's 100% occupied most of the time. He failed to tap into this opportunity, or he thought every single person lived a busy schedule like him. Every single person was purposeful. Until I shared with him this idea. People are waiting, people are dying for you to give them a purpose. The reason you hate your 9 to 5 job is because it doesn't, although it feels the need for purpose, you're not enjoying what you're doing. But you can sell the idea that someone is part of something bigger to your benefit. I recall the story of JFK visiting NASA at the moon project. He asked the janitor, "What are you doing here?" "Well, Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man on the moon." That is an accurate display of effective leadership. For the sake of time, one of the ways you identify your purpose, you see my choice of words. I didn't say find. When you say find, it becomes abstract. It looks as though you're going on a quest or some far flung land to find this purpose. However, you identify your purpose, you do not find it. So identifying your purpose is looking at things or activities you gravitate towards, things that look like play to you but like work to others. And the problem with this idea, as interesting as it sounds, and I know you agree with me cerebrally, but when it comes to it, you disagree because it looks like play. Your mind interprets it as not work. In fact, that activity you should be doing is what is at the bottom list of your task or of your to-do list. Is what at the bottom of the barrel of your to-do list because you do not identify it as work. You see it as a waste of time. For instance, cooking, hairdressing. Also, you do not concur cerebrally that this ideal that seems like play would prove beneficial, especially financially. As a result, you disregard it. History is replete of individuals who disregarded their talents. One of them is the wife of the late prophet. Remember that woman who was in debt. When she came to the prophet, he asked her a simple question: "What do you have in your house?" Nothing. except a jar of oil. That jar of oil not only saved her out of debt, but it redefined her whole financial possibility because she lived up the rest. So be very careful when you disregard your talent. Now, I promised I would keep it succinct, so we'll end it here. As always, my friend, a pleasure speaking to you. See you when?